see what that means. So let me open a design here. So this is my design. And as you will notice, as I'm traveling across the design 1 second, we have a small issue. We will continue in 1 minute. Okay, a small accident of those who can happen. So let us start again. Okay, so we're launching and we're ready to go. Let's open the design. And let's start moving over the different segments. You can see that as I'm moving with my mouse over the design, the segments are getting highlighted. Getting highlighted means that I can see and select my segments easier. As you can see, I can now see which segment is underneath the segment I'm covering over. And let's see how easy the selection became. A nice thing about version 14 is that I place my mouse, as you see here. I can see all segments coming in this point. Clicking with my left mouse button, the system is going to show me the segments which are coming in that position. For example, if I move here, I can see all the segments coming here, and I can start selecting by just clicking my left mouse button. So selection is easy, fast, and straightforward. Now you notice that in a very big zoom, that was always one of the issues. How can I start moving in another place of the design? So you can see here, I have the global view window, which has been redesigned. I can move everywhere I want using the global view window. And the nicest thing of everything is that I can resize and change the zoom mode by just clicking and dragging my left mouse button. As you can see, editing and moving across the design is becoming easier. Let's go now over this segment here. One of the problems I had with previous versions of DGML or Pulse was that when I had this segment selected, that I wanted to select the segment which was underneath, I had to deselect the segment and I had to select the segment again. Today, this problem has been resolved because very simply what I do is I pass over, I click with the left mouse button, and I can immediately select the segment. Let's start seeing features which we have added in version 14. The first feature which I really like is one of the hidden features, we can say them or call them, is the ability I have to repeat the last function. So I'm taking a segment, selecting a segment, I'm moving the segment over here, then I select again the segment, view, edit, repeat last. What will happen? The software will repeat my last move. Small features very interesting. For example, duplicate. Okay, let's duplicate. Let's select the segment again. Shift L will repeat my last function. Now let's continue and let's see where else I can apply the repeat last function. I can apply repeat last function when I decide to power copy a segment in different sizes and different positions, as I'm doing now. Again, repeat last function is going to repeat the last function I've done. So, as I said before, small features added in version 14, but very interesting and very important. Okay, let's go further. Let's say we want to start a new file. It's like a blank design. And let's load an image. Image load. Before I continue, I would like to let you know for the following is that in version 14 we decided to apply new shortcuts. The reason for that was that we had to make some readjustment and to bring the software closer to how the graphic softwares look. And we knew that we had to readjust the shortcuts. So a normal reaction, a human reaction, is that if I'm using old shortcuts, I would say, give me my old shortcuts back. That's the same reaction I also had with our programmers, but I realized later that I need to start using the new shortcuts because I was becoming more efficient and faster. However, if somebody would like to go back to the old shortcuts, what he really needs to do is to go to Tools, Configuration, User Settings, and on the environment, you can look on shortcuts. So if you would say apply classic, that would immediately mean that you will go back to your old shortcuts. But if you say apply standard, that would mean that you will go to the new shortcuts. So let's stay with the standard one now. And on top of that, if you go down here on the window, you will see shortcuts. So as you can see, I have all my shortcuts here on screen. And what I can do is, for example, I'm looking for my angle shortcuts. Angle, you see, my shortcuts is T. I want to use to see virtual slice. There you go. So the search option on shortcuts is helping me a lot. In addition to that, we have added also a window which is called Tool Guide. Tool Guide is a very useful tool because in reality, this is the tool which can help you when your trainer has left and you are staying alone. So you don't remember the sequence of a tool. What happens in this case is you simply select a tool. Let me get a tool here, let's say the complex fill tool. You see the tool guide, I need to select it. The tool guide is open. So one second. Okay, let's go back. The tool guide is open, and immediately I can see the steps for this tool. For example, it now says to me create bezier curves, or it says to me T, for example, for auto trace. So I press the button T. The outline is being recognized automatically. I press next. It tells me now enter the start point. I press next. It tells me now enter the stop point. And I finish. You see, through the process it's telling me what happens. Click and drag to add an outline, enter to accept the default location, so it's guiding me through. Now, one of the issues which has been discussed a lot with the customer was that we don't want to have all this big screen here, and we don't want to have all those buttons. we want to work on a full screen mode. Well, full screen mode means that you will come in window and you will select full screen. Selecting full screen automatically means that I have a bigger window and I can continue working using my shortcuts. In example, in this case here, let me try to draw this path here using the pen tool. So the shortcut for the pen tool is the button P. Spacebar, let me move down, and I start placing my points. Another nice thing in version 14, which is a more interactive version, is that while I am digitizing, I am able to zoom in, zoom out. So I'm zooming in now. I'm pressing escape. I continue. So let's zoom. Let's press escape. I continue to work, as you can see. I zoom in again. I continue working. Before, in previous versions, when this was happening, what I had to do was I had to start again. Now, however, this is not happening. I just continue to work. I continue to do my outline, as you can see. Let's close this with the button O. And now, let us slice it. The virtual slice shortcut is letter U. I'm slicing here. I'm adding my directions. Here you are. My start point and my end point. And there I am. So I was able to digitize and I was able to continue working using my shortcuts. So I'm finished with my full screen. I'm closing my full screen and I'm coming back to my normal screen. So this is the way we manipulate a scanned-in image. Let's see now what's happening if I'm using a vector file. Let's click on Start. Let's say New File. Let me select a vector. You all know the advantages I have when I'm working with a vector. The big advantage I have when I work with a vector is that the outline has been already done, and using my tools I can just digitize. So let me import the artwork. I'm selecting the artwork. There you are. Let me place the artwork. So let me select this segment here. Let's hide the unselected segment. And obviously the big advantage you have here is that I'm having my notes and I can continue with my editing. So as I am here, I take advantage of the global view. Again, it's a good idea to zoom in a little bit more. I take my virtual slice. I start slicing slowly. Okay, let us continue with the global view window. Let's go there. That's one more slice line. One more slice line here. Then I need to add my direction points. I'm starting to add my direction points. So there you go. Let's continue further. Okay. So now I should define the start point and the end point. Okay, apparently I have done a mistake. Let's see where the mistake could have been. I suspect that I should somewhere be more careful with my direction lines. Okay, well, I'm getting better, and I think that's the problem here. It's good also to see when a problem happens how I can resolve it. As you can see, I had to move just this direction line to bring things up to speed. Now, the problem I'm facing are the overlaps on the segments which are connected. So let's see something here, and let's see the new properties window. You will notice that we have created a new properties window which has three basic windows. The first one is the show basic properties, which will show you for every tool or segment you are selecting the basic properties. If you want to see all the properties, you can just select view all properties. You can always expand and collapse everything, as you can see here. And one nice thing to do is that usually I always have my favorites. So I could say that for every tool I'm using, for every segment, for a satin path, for a complex field, for a running stitch, I want to create my favorite. So what I do is I'm coming on what we call underlay. Let me select the zigzag underlay tool. Once it is collected and selected, as you can see here, I add this to my favorites. So it has been added to my favorites, and you can see here that the zigzag tool is in my favorites, and I can enable or disable the zigzag underlay from here. So three basic settings. One, basic settings. Two, show all properties. Three, create your own favorite properties and use them anytime you want. If I want to delete a setting from the favorites, I'm coming here, I'm selecting it, I click here and it has been removed. So I can be adding and removing favorites as I go along. Let's continue. Let's see something else. Let's see another dialog window, which is the traditional Windows tab properties you all know. As you can see, we kept also the traditional properties. There is a very small change here we have on the left instead of having the tabs on top, so I can expand and collapse. And something we're going to discuss now as a reminder is the ability we have to add what we call an automatic overlap on the segments which are coming together. So let's see what's happening if I say automatic overlap here. Let's apply. Okay, as you will notice, on the segments which are coming together, we have added automatically the overlap. So a very important quality features. Instead of me adding the overlap manually, it's being added automatically. One nice thing and one big advantage is that in version 14, when I'm using the automatic overlap, I can automatically add the underlay without needing to go manually in cases like this. So what I really do is Ctrl-C to copy the segment, Ctrl-V to place the segment, and since Pulse is a software which works with outlines, I just come here. Let me change the color so we can see better what's going on. And let me change now the satin path segment to a running stitch segment. There you go. So basically what happens is, taking advantage of the outlines, I was able in seconds to add the outline, as you can see. Now, version 14 is all about customizable workspace also. That means that many times a customer says, you know, I'm used to have this type of workspace, I want to have this workspace, or a customer says, I want to use this specific shortcuts, and he needs to have his own environment. So what we have done in version 14 is that we have added the possibility and the option to every user to be able to customize the workspace according to his needs and his desires. So let's have a look on that. Basically, let's see, window, you can see here workspaces. This is the default workspace, which comes as default. So let's save it again as default, simply say save. Okay. And now let's see a couple of things. First of all, as you can see, I have my windows here. Those windows can be pinned or unpinned. The tool guide window, for example, the properties, I can unpin and have everything on the right side. I can select the sequence view window, I can pin it, and actually I can move it to the left of the screen. You can see that the arrow is highlighting, so it's being added there. Let me unpin it, let me auto hide it. Let me come back to the properties window, let's pin it. Okay, and let's start deleting. For example, properties, stitch list, I don't want the stitch list anymore. I don't want to have the properties. I don't need the design properties because I'm using my traditional design properties as I was always used to, as you can see here. So I get rid of those design properties also. Tool guide, after 1 or 2 months, I learned everything, so I don't need the tool guide. Shortcuts, I learned them, I'm fine. I just want to keep the global view, and the thread chart, I don't need it, I use a traditional way. So as you can see here, I have changed quite a lot my workspace. So I can save workspace, and let's call it webinar, for the sake of the webinar. And you see now that if I come here and I say window, workspaces, and I click on default, it brought me back to the default workspace. Or if I come back and I click and I say webinar, it will bring me to the workspace I have just created. Why is this useful? Imagine two different persons, two different personalities working on the same computer. So I am Alex. Maybe I work together with Rob. Alex creates his own workspace, saves it, and every time he uses the software, he works on it. And Rob creates his own workspace and saves it. So let's go a bit further and see what other things we can change. Let's come here, configuration, customize, toolbars. So I want to create a new toolbar. So I will come here, I will say new toolbar. I will call it webinar. And I will start adding to it the buttons I use. So that means, for example, that, let me come up there, I use file new, so if I press the control button and the left mouse button, hold it down, I move this here. I want to have my lettering, I take the text, I hold the control button down, left mouse button, let me put it there. Okay. Let me take, for example, the running stitch. It's there. And I'm using, let's say, the pen. Very often I put it there. So you can see that you can this way adjust your toolbars, create a new toolbar. Now I can disable the toolbars I'm not using. As you can see, they start disappearing from my screen. Okay, so I have to go up there and clean the toolbars. I don't know if this one is a toolbar I even needs. Okay, let's get the auto pouring out, the commands out, and let's close it. So you see, I'm starting to have a different look on my workspace. And if I really now want, I can actually take this one and put it here. I can take the text, put it there. This happens by holding the Alt button down. Okay, and the pen tool is there. Perfect. I'm fine. Window, workspaces, save workspace. I'm just keeping up with the work I have done. So what do you see? I have a new workspace which I customized it on my needs. And by the way, I don't want the sequence view to be there. I want to get back on version 13. Scenario where I was just pressing Shift T for the sequence view window. So the same story again. Let me close it. I'm working. Shift T, my sequence view window is there. So as you can see, totally adjustable. One thing is missing. I want to change my shortcuts. For example, I don't want to go every time and go and say image load to get the image. I want the load artwork window to appear with a shortcut. So tools, configuration, customize, options, menu. Here's a keyboard, sorry. So you need to bring the keyboard on accelerator on design. From here I have the categories. Let me select image. So what is missing is load. That, as you can see on the right side, there is no key for load. So let me press I for image. Aha, it's assigned to show. So let me see. Let's see, is Control I available? No. Control I is not available because it's assigned to backdrop select. Let me check if Control Shift I is available. Aha, it's unassigned. So very good. I assign it. So now, every time I will use Control Shift I will be able to load the output. So that means that, let's say that somebody is using two different systems. He has his graphics system and he has his digitizing system. And he's used with a specific set of shortcuts. What he really can do is he can apply the shortcuts according to what he wants and what he is used. So my environment, my workspace are totally customizable. So I'm done. Let us now go a little bit of quality. Every time we make a new version, obviously we're trying to make the version easier, user-friendlier to the user. We're giving new features like, for example, the customizable features, but in the end of the day, Pulse Microsystems is all about quality. So we have to be very careful on quality issues and the small details which really distinguish a professional advanced digitizing system than anything else. So let us share a couple of new features which have been added. Okay, let us make a new design. So let me close this. Okay, so
Muted.
let's make a new file. And let's go back to the default workspaces because I cannot find my things here. Okay, I'm back to default. It's a relief. So let's take import TrueType. Let me take the letter L. Let's select a font from our TrueType font lists. Okay. Let me take the Arial font here. Now I think I made a mistake. Please excuse me for that. Sometimes. Okay, there you go. Okay, this is the letter L. Let's make it a little bit. Oh, it's okay. So let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's zoom it in. Let's convert this to a starting path segment, direction lines. By the way, another thing which is new is that in version 14, if you hold down the Shift key while you are placing your directions, moving on 15 degrees increments, which is very important if I want to come here, for example, in a total vertical space. I'm here again. Shift, 15 degrees increments. Here are my stitches. Now let's see what happens usually in embroidery. Sometimes when you see ready-made embroideries, what we really see is that in the beginning of a segment, for example, let's take this stitch and let's take this stitch also. What happens is you will notice that the first stitch is always put a little bit more inside. Why is this happening? Because, especially on the starting path segments, and you can see that also on the machine, the moment the machine starts, the tension is stronger. So the first stitch, the corner stitches, and the end stitches, they have the tension to have a bigger compensation than any other stitches on the segment. So for example, what also happens is that the corner stitch here will also pull in. So many times you have seen a similar situation like the one I'm doing here. You see the first stitch has been more pulled in, or the corner lines more pulled in. A professional digitizer would, because he knows what's going on, he would basically pull the stitch a little bit more on the left and the right in order to gain this difference and the bigger tension in the beginning of the corners. Obviously, I cannot go in every segment I'm doing and do this thing. I can take advantage, though, of version 14. New feature, which is an Illustrator Extreme feature, which is called, let me go here. Let's go on stitch quality. Extend stitches at ends and extend stitches at corners. So a high value quality feature which is doing this, as you can see. Now, small details which difference a simple digitizing system from an advanced one. Where can I apply this, and where do I really use the extension? The extensions are really used and really helpful in lettering. So let me do this. Okay. Let me type in pulse. Let me change the size. Let me make it, let's say, 10 millimeters height. So what happens in this case now, even on lettering, I can select the segment, extend the stitches at ends, and extend the stitches at corners, and you see it applies on lettering. And by the way, the extension is more needed in smaller segments. The smaller a segment is, the biggest tension are applied to this specific segment. As you can see here, it is very helpful on lettering. And since I'm on lettering, let me show you a new feature added very briefly a couple of weeks ago. As you know, we constantly deliver maintenance releases. When you receive a maintenance release, it is resolving issues we come across, but many times we're adding new features. So here we have added a new feature which is called maximum with baseline. So what happens here is, I did type pulse, but if I type micro, the baseline, as you can see, has been extended. But I don't want to extend the baseline. I want to maintain the baseline on the same width. So what I do is, if I click the maximum with baseline here, you see what happened? The baseline keeps same. For us to understand this better, let me take a guideline, one guideline from here, and one guideline here. Okay, which is, you see, inside here is my baseline. So if I disable it, that's how the width should be. I'm coming back here, maximum with baseline, I'm coming back here. Very important and very helpful when I'm doing lettering, when I'm doing monogramming. For example, let me come here and let's say, let's type my name, Alexandros. You see that? Small features, but really very important. Okay, let us continue with quality after we're going to clean up the guidelines. Okay, let's bring the segment here. So we have our segment, which is the segment L. Let's take the extend stitches out. And now, what we will do is, we will look at the start lock inside. One of the requests we were having for a long time was to be able to start inside a starting path segment. The advantage of this is that if I have small letters, small segments, if I start inside, the stitches are not going to get lost, are not going to get loose. So in version 14 and in the level Maestro, I click on Start Lock Inside. I select from Connection Lock, Start Lock Align. And what does happen? You see the line here? We start from inside. And obviously, you can change the distance from here. As you can see, or let's move further. As you can see. Now, one more quality feature which is very important applying to big starting path segment is the one we're going to see now. Let me take the TrueType font again. Okay. Let's take the font. So, and let's put the letter T again. Sometimes I'm missing it. I apologize for this. There you go. So T has been placed on my screen. And let's watch now. Okay, we're here. We will slice here. We get our directions. Okay, start point will be here, and the end point will be here. So, let's see something here. Let us enable again from quality control the automatic overlap, and let's discuss about something we face. Many times, obviously, we are obliged to create the overlap, as you can see here, in order to avoid the pulling down of the stitches. But sometimes, when I embroider, as I come along with the embroidery, as you can see, those stitches here would start to pull the stitches which are horizontal up. And as a consequence, I can see sometimes on big satin part segments on the joinings, I can see a gap, even though I have used the overlap. So how is it resolved? A digitizer would take the stitch and would insert manually a stitch exactly here. That would mean that as stitches are traveling along, you see you have a back stitch here, which is the stitch which is going to cover the gap which is created due to the pull. Now, what happens is that again, I cannot go and every time I need to do something, I have to do those things manually. The system has a feature which is a Maestro feature, which is called feed gap. So what happens at fixed gap, let's say 2 repeats, okay, generate. Let's have a look what happens. Let me zoom in so you can see better. Okay, so there you go. Stitches go backwards. You see that? So this is what you say, and this is where you see if you have just a simple digitizing software or if you have a deep software going in details and applying to problems which can occur on your daily life. Now what I want to say here, you hear me saying that this option is in Maestro, this option is in Maestro, and you would ask me, why are those very advanced digitizing options available only in Maestro, not on the lower levels? Well, the answer is that Maestro is the full-featured digitizing level which goes to a professional digitizing house. Of course, that does not mean that only professional digitizing house can have it. Everybody can have a Maestro. But in Maestro, there are two very important things you have to see. Number one, all those small features, quality features, which help me apply quality and be faster are automated, number one. And number two, Maestro is a level which is full of advanced and unique stitch types. So once we cleaned up with what we call quality, let us continue and let us see something. Let's see the variable density. So let me help you in something. Let's recall offset. Let's take the offset. Let's take the enclosed offset. Okay, so 1 second. Okay, enclosed segment. Okay, so let's select round. Okay. So you see, you can use the offset to in case like that. Let me make the segment a little bit bigger. Let's type in directions, one direction here, one there. Let's continue drawing our directions. Okay, there you are. That's now my starting path segment. We all are familiar with what we call density profile and the ability we have to apply different densities. The only problem is, and the only difference actually here is that with the density profile I cannot really control how my density would go. With the variable densities I can really control the density. So how it works is following. I select my segment, angle lines. I move my mouse over the angle line, right mouse button, set density. So what I now say is, for example, for this angle line, the density will be 10. You see? Let me come in this angle line. Let's set the density here as 15, for example. And let's set the density on the last angle line as, for example, 0. There you are. Now, you have noticed that I can apply different type of densities, linear, parabolic. Let's see what happens. If I apply parabolic, for example, you see I have a different result. If I apply step, I would have a different result again. I can totally control with step how the density will work. Okay. And let's come here, set density, step, okay, generate. So as you can see, I am able to control the density and am able to apply the changes I want, the density inside a starting path segment. That's the so-called variable density, which does not only apply to a starting path segment, but it also applies to a complex field segment, which means that we take the cycle I think I missed it here a little bit. It does matter. We'll do it again. Okay, there is my cycle. So let me create a complex field. Start here. Let's finish here. Okay. Let's make it slightly bigger. And now here you will see on top there is a line which is called the density line. So as soon as you click the density line will come vertical on your inclination of stitches. So once I have the density line, I come over, I press my right mouse button, I'm adding a density bead, right mouse button, I'm adding another density bead, right mouse button, I'm adding another density bead. So 3 density beads, I can move them up and down on my density line. First density, let's say 10. The next density will be, let's say 5. And the last density will be set to 0. Now, as you can see, I'm moving my density beads and I can this way control the densities variations I have, and by pressing the right mouse button I can set again the density profile. So let's go to step. You are here. You notice I like step a lot because it really shows me. So set density profile, let's say step. So let's change here the density from 0 and let's make it, let's say, for example, 8. There you are. So you see, I have a smooth transaction of my shadowing, and with the help of the density line, I am able to control from where to where my densities are being applied. And even can take, let's see what happens. You see, I move the bead, I bring it over. I will move this bead, I bring it down here. So the whole appearance does change. And in the end of the day, if I would move my direction lines, my angle line, as you see here, what will happen is okay, the density will continue, you see that, being vertical to any angle I will apply. Again, we have the variable densities which are applied to a sudden path segment or are being applied to a complex field segment. And again, both of them are Maestro features. Now going further, continuing further, let's see the following. Let's see a nice new stitch type which has been added, which I personally like really a lot, and the stitch type is called the spiral field. Okay, let's select the spiral field. Wow. So I start here. So what happens with the spiral field? There you go. The spiral stitch type, which was for a long time requested. Now, the nice thing about the spiral field is that I can move my start point wherever I want, and what will happen is this. You see? So it's not a simple spiral field which starts from the center, but the beauty of this is that I can control the start point of it and the end point of it. And on top of that, I can take the profile, let's say decreasing, and you see, applying a profile, I change even more the look. And it's not a simple spiral field which is just a cycle. I can apply different types. For example, I've made a house here. Okay, let's see how this one will work. That's interesting. That's a nice effect. Okay, obviously, the best thing would be to bring the end down here. So let's see what will happen now. You see? So what is embroidery? Embroidery is art. What do I need to apply art? I need to have the tools to be able to apply art. What is Pulse doing? Well, we're trying to provide you with as many unique stitch types as we can, and all the time we're breaking our heads trying to see what we can deliver to them. So look at this one here. This is not unique, this is not different than the simple tatami, and most importantly, less stitches. So here now, someone asked me in a presentation if we could do a star. I did it, and it actually works quite nicely. Okay, there you go. Okay, the way to control this is to come on density, Okay, spiral spacing, and make the spacing, let's say, 4 millimeters. You can see it's clear now, or even more, let's make it 5. There you are. So what happens here is, we give you the tools, you use your imagination, and we deliver to the industry something different. Now, let's go on further. Let's see what else we should be seeing. The next thing I would like to show you, and it will take us another couple of 10-15 minutes and I think we'll be done. The next thing we're going to see is the improvements we have done on our offset. Offset is one of the most dedicated tools we use, and it's a tool which really helps you across a lot of problems. It's used a lot, and we had a lot of requests to fix our offset, or let's say to improve our offset. You know, a software company doesn't like the word fix. So let's see the improvements we have done in our offset. Let me import an artwork. Let me get the offset here. There you are. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Those are 3 vector segments to which I'm going to apply offset. So let's come here and let's see what's happening here with the offset. Let me select the offset. Let's say area offset. You see that the corner shape I asked him to be meter in the beginning. I would specify the distance to -1. The node reduction to aggressive, and I would ask him to do 10 repeats. Let's see what's going to happen. You can see it really did a great job here. Look at this. Look how well we handled this. Or let's make a smaller zoom. Let's look here, for example. It's perfect. Or, for example, let's take an offset again. Let's select area offset but rounded. Specify the distance. -1. Aggressive. Let's say 10 repeats. And we will select corner shape round instead of meter, as I said before. Let him again cut. And again, you can see how the offset is being handled. I think I don't need to say many things. Looking at the screen, at the image, you can really see how well it has been improved. And the last example, instead of only offsetting negative, let us say that we will offset now positive. Say that. Excellent. Again, I think there is no much to say. The image and the results speak for themselves. Now, continuing on the offsets, one of the things we've done and I really like is a small feature which I've added in and you're going to see now. We will share this with you. Let's take a text. Let's type again pulse. We really like the name pulse. So let's come here. Let me select size. Okay, let's go further down. That's a nice big font. Okay, what happens in many cases? In many cases what happens is I want to create an applique and I have a name or I have names and I need to offset this shape here in order to create my applique part and my laser cut applique and everything. So the problem is, if I say offset this, let's specify a distance. Let's say 3 repeats. What would happen is this. And obviously, this is boundary of me being able to use the offset if I want to create appliques, like here, for example, or like here. So what do? Let me make an undo. Let me select everything. Let me call the offset again. And now, area offset, let's specify the distance. We will have 3 repeats. But now we will say merge offset shapes. Let's see what's going to happen. I really love this part. This has happened. You see that? Do you see how nice the overlapping segments have been merged? And if I go to my sequence view, okay, let me make this smaller. Okay. So let me take this offsetted segment also. Take this one also. There you are. It's a beautiful outcome, a beautiful result. And obviously now, applique cut, file, export to applique cut, located DXF file. You can take this file, put it on your laser table, cut the application, and use it. Now, one thing to be stated here. We say that Pulse is the only true vector-based embroidery system, and we really are a true vector-based embroidery system. You have noticed all this time we are together, the last 1.5 hour round, that everything I'm doing, everything I'm applying, I'm using my drawing tools, I'm using my vector tools. Why? Because if I am a Pulse user who wants to take 100% advantage of how the system works, I use my drawing tools, I apply stitch type. So there are 5 tools you need to use if you want to be a Pulse user who takes 100% advantage of the software. The tools are the pen tool, obviously the cut tool, which means the slice tool, either the slice or even the virtual slice, which is even better. Combine, breakup, and offset. I always say to our customers, a customer who is using those 5 tools knows to use the software and takes advantage of the real good things of the software, the quality we can offer. So remember, pen tool, slice, virtual slice, combine, breakup, and offset. And now, last and not less important, our communication with CorelDRAW. Let us see how we communicate with CorelDRAW, and let's see what is new in this communication with CorelDRAW. By the way, if you already have CorelDRAW X3, X4, or X5, you can interactively communicate with CorelDRAW. So as you can see, I'm on my CorelDRAW window. Let me import a file. Let me go around looking for files. Where are my files? Okay. They're getting more and never less. Let me get the Fusion. There you are. Here's a globe. Okay. As you can see, this is a file which is a vector file. You need to have made a vector file in CorelDRAW. In order to be able to edit and do the changes you want. Now what happens is, for you to see better, I need to ungroup it. So now, you can see it's a vector file. Now once I've worked in CorelDRAW, and I want to import the design, I can just say switch, and I can create the stitches. Now, one thing we always say is that if somebody says to you, I have any type of an image which can be either a vector file or a JPEG file, and he says to you, wow, look what I do here, and I create automatic stitch types, and you're not going to digitize, forget it, this is not the reality. The reality is that the automation tools of conversions are there and are being useful if I want to check stitch count. For example, my customer came to me with this vector file. So he said to me, Alex, this is the vector file. How many stitches will it have? How much will it cost it to me? I say, okay, Rob, wait a minute. I use the communication with CorelDRAW. And by the way, as I'm switching over, you see that I've done something new. I am here. I am editing my outline in CorelDRAW. I'm coming over to the digitizing level. I'm doing changes. The first change I do is that I want to convert the satin part to a complex field because I want to have a complex field. And then I will use my slice tool to slice. So I'm slicing. There you are. So what happens is, as you can see, I come back to Corel, I made the changes, I come back to my digitizing part and pulse, I continue working, and I don't need to switch as I was doing before. If I really want to take over the changes I've done on my embroidery part to the graphic part or vice versa, what I just need to do is, since I'm on the embroidery part which is here, I just say Draw Fusion again, and now I can say refresh Draw Fusion, so you will see what there you are. You see, now it took over the changes. So we have the interactive communication between CorelDRAW and Pulse. And on the new version, on version 14, I want to work on the embroidery window. I go to the embroidery window, I do the changes I want. I want to go to my Corel window and I do the changes I want. So now Rob is not happy only with that. Rob would like to see how the design he wants to do is going to look on a garment. So what I now do is I say Window, 3D View. Let me select a garment. So let's get a cap. Let's say cap front blue. Okay, looks very nice. And I want to send Rob this. So export image. Let me put it on the desktop because then I can get it easier. Let me save it. So it's being saved. Okay, I'm coming on my desktop. Okay, my computer goes funny. He wants to switch it to graphics. So here I am, selecting again, and that's what Rob is going to receive. So not only I was able to count the stitches, I was able to manipulate the design Rob has given me, and I'm sending him this image pack so for him to have an idea how the embroidery will look. So today, A digitizing system is not only a simple system which I take and I create designs. This is how things were in the past. Today, a digitizing system has to be a tool on my daily work, helping me also on administrative parts, on how I will improve my business. This is a typical example of how I can improve my business by making quotations faster. And since I speak for quotation, quotation is another big headache of any company. So let me go back here. Okay, let me close the design. Close the overview. Okay, now this is the last thing we're going to speak about, and maybe one of the last things. Quotation estimation wizards. Customer, the quotation is, as I said, a delicate issue because I need to quote to a customer a cost, delivery time, and he needs to know what he's going to receive. Also, the times where I was saying to a customer 1,000 stitches, X amount of dollars per 1,000 stitches are gone for the following reasons. Number one, I need to quote on quantities. Number two, what happens if a design has a special metallic thread? Or what happens if I have to add the applique garments? Or what happens if I have to put special topics? So all those things need to be added when I make my estimation. So all those things are available on the wizard. So let me go here. Let me take a design. Let me go on the demo designs. Okay. So final PXFs will give away. Skateboarder, I like this design a lot. So that's the design I want to send a quotation. Number of stitches, number of trims, number of color changes, number of appliques, average time of handling. So let's continue. My machine speed, number of heads used, let's say 6 heads, time per seconds per trim, time per seconds per color change. The setup time, 10 minutes or 15 minutes, or I'm a very good embroiderer, I can put 5. Number of operators, 1, so I operate my machine well. Operating time, how long time do I lose to change the panel? How long time do I need to frame a finished garment? Because I'm going to use a finished garment, the framing is, let's say, 40 seconds. My unframing time when I finish is 60 seconds. That's too much per head. Let's say 10 seconds per head. You see the unframing time per head. So let's continue. Now I'm going to put my quotation. So let's say that I'm going to quote from 1 to 20 pieces, $2 per 1,000. From 20 pieces to 100, 1.5 per 1,000, and from 100 to the end, $1 per 1,000. Material, okay. Do I have an applique fabric? The total cost for the applique fabric I'm going to use, it doesn't have applique fabric, so let's get it out. Special thread, yes, I'm going to use a special thread, and the total cost will be $50. The topping, I don't need topping, but my backing, or let's say other handling fees or expensive, will be another $50. So I've added all the expenses which this work is going to create to me on the quotation estimation wizard. And the last expense which you have is digitizing. Digitizing is not for free. Who said it's for free? Obviously, okay, if I have thousands, an order with thousands, I could give it free. But again, I can either customize and quote based on the number of stitches, or I can give a fixed price, let's say 50 per design. Not a bad price, it's good. Okay. For something I can do in 5 or 10 minutes, 50 is not bad. So let's continue. In here I'm adding the customer names, the customer informations, everything I need to add. I continue. Now I want to print the quotation number and date, the customer details, the time per design, time per order, price per design. I could take those things away, but I leave them for the demonstration. And let's say I want to have 200 pieces. Promise delivery day, the customer always wants yesterday, but that's impossible. The best thing I can do for you would be on Friday next week. So let's continue. Let's select the garment. I'm going to put the design on. There is my garment. That's my quotation. And I can always export the quotation as a Adobe PDF file. Okay, again, let's put it on my desktop. And there you are. So you see, you have this PDF file. You can send it to the customer. You can keep it in your filing system when the order has been confirmed. You can send it to the customer and everything is fine, is being controlled. So this was the version 14 webinar. I have to thank everybody for being with us all the last period, all the last time. I guess that questions have been occurred, so if anyone would like to have a question, please make the question now. And I don't know if during my presentation there were any questions there. So far I don't have any questions. Anyone would like to ask something? Anyone would like to make any clarifications? Okay, I see no questions coming in.
Alex, some of the questions were already answered, and Michael had a question that you covered. Yeah, and Michael had a question that you covered. He was basically looking for what the different icons represented on top of the just in the property settings area, the ones that you covered, the shortcuts and the favorites and everything.
So that's good to hear that we were able to answer to all the questions. So in that case, what should we say? We should say thank you for watching us, and again, sorry for the inconvenience which we had yesterday. Kitty?
Yes, yes. It's great that a lot of you were able to attend after the unfortunate cancellation or rescheduling of yesterday's webinar, but looks like most of you were able to attend, which is very heartening. I know some of you have asked questions about the recording for today's webinar, but I did mention that we will put up another webinar recording and that there are other webinars scheduled for version 14. So if you happen to miss a part of this, or if you would just want a refresher again, please register for any of the other upcoming version 14 webinars. The entire schedule is going to be posted on our website. We already have some scheduled, and more announcements will be made for other upcoming webinars.
So that was it. Then we have to say good evening to everybody and thank everybody to be with us today. We hope that we will see you in our next webinars, and we are planning to post webinars as much as possible. We know it's the best way to communicate with our customers, and we evaluate the time they've spent with us, and of course the confidence we have in our products.
Yes, and if anybody has any specific requirements for any area of the software that you would like covered in more detail, we would be happy to hear from you. Please let us know by email if you want any specific input on any part of the software, and we will try and schedule webinars around that.
So then, thank you everybody. Thank you, Preeti, and good night.
Thanks,
Have a
Alex.
pleasant
Great
day.
presentation. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.